Okay. So being a DevOps engineer, we need to deal with a Linux operating system. But before dealing with Linux operating system, we should know what is operating system exactly. So let's try to define operating system here. An operating system is system software that manages computer hardware and software resources and provides common services for compute programs. It is mean like, for example, if you have a laptop, let's understand you have a i5 laptop with 16 GB RAM. It has a one graphics card, and when you press the power button, then something appears on your screen. So that is nothing but operating system. So why operating system is required? So we know, like, computers or all digital devices, they don't understand human level language. For example, right now we are speaking, machine won't understand what we are speaking. So how machine communicate with each other, or how machine understand what input is given? Machine is only understand machine language. So that is language of zeros and ones. So, and human, we speak the words, we frame the sentences. So how to communicate human to machine? So that's where operating system comes into picture. Let's say you have a computer and you connected one printer to it. So how machine will come to know like printer has been connected, or how you will access that printer? So here operating system plays the vital role. Like whatever you do the operations on your machine, laptop, so that's all about the working on a operating system. So here we can see there are layers of operating system. First one is user, the one who uses the device, how he uses using the application. So right now we are having a call on a Zoom. So Zoom is an application which is installed on an operating system, and then operating system is connected to the hardware. Right now you are able to listen whatever I'm speaking. You are able to see my screen. How you are able to do that? You are using your screen as a hardware. Your laptops, speakers, microphones are being used by the operating system, and the access has been given to the application, that is we are connected to the Zoom. So this is how the operating system works. And it is a not a one-way communication, it's a two-way communication. Like whatever input is given by the user to the application, then application pass it to the operating system. Based on that, operating system use the required hardware, and the output of the hardware again shared with the user. So hope you understand using this picture, like how operating system is crucial to use any device. Okay, let's have a brief history about the operating systems. So when there was a need of operating system, right? So the first operating system was Unix. So here you can see GMNNIO produced by the General Motors for its IBM 704. So it was the first computer, IBM 704, and for that they required one operating system. So then operating system started, and initially Dennis Ritchie, you may heard the name of the person who wrote the C language. So he was involved in writing the Unix operating system. Then they have to close that project due to some reasons. And then in 1960s, IBM again came with a series of his own computers. It was a 360 series, and Multics is developed by and abandoned, but Unix is developed as a consequences. So there was an operating system they tried. There was a need of operating system. So the initial thought was operating system should be multi-user and multitasking. Like at this one, many users can connect to the operating system and they can use the operating system, as well as multiple users can do the multitasking on operating system. So this was the requirement. So then they started with a project called a Multics, but it eventually it failed. And then they come out with the solution, or they, from the learning of their failure, Unix get developed, and Unix came into picture in 1960s. Then Unix was the initial thought of Dennis Ritchie was Unix should be free of cost for all. So he make the uh, source code to public, and using that source code, many companies started creating their own operating systems. So you can see uh, in 1970s, Unix becomes the popular in academic circles and spawns many versions of it. So HP developed their own operating system called HPX, AX. Then every company started to develop their operating system and give the name of their company. Then in 1977, Apple released. In 1981, Microsoft came into picture and they developed MS-DOS. In 1980, like public computers were available for the public use. So then everyone was started using the operating system. But the thing was like the team which was working on Unix operating system. So there were some suggestions. Like for example, when we use any application on our Play Store, so we face some issues, we like some things. Then we write a reviews and we ask something, some features to the developer of the application. The same way, the people started suggesting some improvements in the Unix operating system. And there was a student called Linus Torvald who was studying in the university. So he also suggested some improvement in the Unix. But the development team who was working on Unix operating system totally neglected their suggestions and recommendation. So then there was a need like operating system should be available for all and it should be free and it should have a freedom. Like for example, if I am working on a in a let's say mechanical industry, someone is working in electronics industry, so operating system should be customizable and everyone should make a use of it for its own purpose. It should not be limited to the some people, so they will completely manage and all. So then Linus Torvald came with the idea and he using that Linux operating system, he developed its own version of a kernel. So after his name Linus, the Linux operating system is name of Linux is given. So the mother of all operating system is Unix. And then in 1990, Microsoft came with their Windows operating system. So initially was a MS-DOS, and then they came with a Windows. Then in 1995, Microsoft came with a Windows 95. In 2000, Linux started getting popularity, and now you see there are a lot of flavors of Linux like Red Hat, Ubuntu, SUSE. So there are multiple flavor of Linux because it is source code is open. Even if you go to GitHub and you just type Linux repository, so you will get the original repository of a Linus Torvald. And then in 2008, the now everyone has a computer in his hand, like we call it a smartphone. So Android gain a lot of popularity, and now you see like everyone is using a Android phone. So this is the evolution of operating systems, like how started from the Unix and now latest operating systems are OpenShift, which was developed by Red Hat. So whatever operating system you take, it may be a Mac OS, Windows, Linux. So all are the derived from the Unix only. Okay. So now it's a era of a cloud. So let's understand how evolution of operating system is also happening here. So this is the traditional operating system which we discussed. There is a physical hardware on it. There is a operating system like we have a Windows 10 in our laptops, or someone may have a Mac, so they have iOS. So this is a traditional way of operating system. Like there is a hardware, on top of it we install operating system, on top of it we install the applications. So now there was a use cases and people started thinking operating system is free. So where we are paying the cost, it's all about the hardware. Let's say, let me show you so you will get a clear idea. Okay, are you able to see my screen? I am opening a task manager.
Yes.
Okay. So can you see my task manager, everyone?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, cool. So here you can see I have a CPU, I have a memory, I have a disk, I have a network. Everything I have in my machine. Okay. But you can see uh, CPU is getting used at 74%. My memory is getting used at 73%. And network is not getting used. But what happens? Let's say I have paid $1,000 for buying a machine, and my CPU utilization is only 10%, 20%. Same way, memory utilization is a 5%, 10%. But I have paid $1,000 for buying the hardware, but I am not able to utilize this 100% CPU memory, not 100%, at least 80 to 85%. So then their concept came a virtual machine. So that is the virtualized. Now you see like virtual machine, virtual machine. We listen everywhere. Even its cloud is also virtual machine. So how they are doing? They are having a hypervisor installed on operating system. So there are two types of hypervisor. One is on metal, and one is the virtual hyper, like which is installed on a operating system. So here you can see operating system is there. In the traditional way, applications were installed directly on operating system. But in virtualization, like when it comes to VMware, so on top of operating system, one hypervisor is installed. So based on that, let's say I have one machine, I want to use Linux as well as Windows both. So hypervisor allows you to use the resources as per your requirement. Let's say I have a 16 GB of RAM, and currently my Windows need a 8 GB of RAM. So I can split that RAM between Windows and Linux. So here you can see there are two operating systems installed on a hypervisor. So one is a, you can assume one is Windows and other is a Linux. So not necessary, you can install any operating system based on the hypervisor. So this is the virtualization concept. Uh, you are getting any questions, any doubt so far?
No, no.
Okay. So then now it's a era of a containerization. Now like Docker and Kubernetes are gaining very popularity. So the drawback of this hypervisor concept was here one problem we solved. What was the problem? Like our resources were hardware resources were not getting utilized 100%. So that was the problem. So to fix that, we came with a solution, virtualization. So now we are able to use our hardware resource efficiently. Like we can have multiple operating systems on a same server, and that's are running parallelly. So one problem get solved. But now what happened? Like for example, I am using a right now I am using a Windows operating system, right? I have installed a Zoom application, and consider I am using my requirement is only use the Zoom application inside the Windows machine. But in virtualization, what happens? Let's say I have allocated 8 GB of RAM to my Windows, and I am using only Zoom application. But my operating system of Windows itself take 6 to 7 GB of space. And what application I am using? Just Zoom. So is it making a sense like to you keep my data of 6 to 8 GB hard disk to just use Zoom application? So then there is a concept called a container. So now you can see it is just replacement of hypervisor. It has a container runtime. So, so what is the difference between container runtime and hypervisor? So in hypervisor, for example, you have to install the Windows operating system. You need to install complete OS. If you want a Linux, you need to install complete Linux. So hypervisor is only logical distributor of a hardware. But in case of a container runtime, you can have a multiple containers. And the beauty of it, for example, I just need Zoom application on Windows. So in my Windows, there are other applications, there are other library files, which even Zoom don't require. So even you can understand, if I have to use a Zoom application, what are the main resources will be used by the Windows? The first will be the drivers of a display, audio, video drivers. I don't need other drivers or other library files to use a Zoom call. So in that case, what happens? My Windows operating system size gets reduced to the very small size. So that is what container concept. We will have a detailed discussion on a container when we will touch the topic. But as we are just studying evolution of OS and it's in a flow, I am just giving a high level overview of a container, what container is. So here you understand like need a zoom. So initially my Windows operating system file size was 7 GB, but I already told I just need use on Zoom application. So you will need Windows operating system size of only 500 MB or 6. So you can see how drastically space has been saved. So this is the next level of management of your resources in a container. So container runtime, what container runtime allows? So either you are using a container of a Windows, Linux, irrespective of which container you are using, container runtime allows you to run the container inside the your hardware. So this is a next level of operating system. So we cannot call it completely operating system, but still it it serves the basic purpose to install application and serve the user. So that's why this is a cloud operating system. Okay, so now here I have a story to tell you. So now if you look at the market, so this is all about desktop survey. If you look in the market, Microsoft has 72% of share, Apple macOS has 16.3% of share, open source Linux 2.9. These are only desktop OS, means the people who are using machines at their end, like laptops, computers, they are using the machines for their personal purpose, and 6%. So these are the three legendaries in the picture. One is a Linus Torvald, who is the founder of Linux Foundation, and he initially wrote a kernel. So kernel is a main, it's like a brain of operating system, you can call it. Without kernel, you cannot have any operating system. So you see, though there are different versions of operating system, all operating system derives the kernel from Linux only. So it may be your Android or any latest operating system. So they are using a kernel. So kernel is the brain of operating system. Without kernel, there is no use of your operating system. So then there is Steve Jobs. So all three derived their like you can say like all are a founder of their own operating system. So like Linus Torvald has their his Linux, Steve has Mac OS, and Bill Gates has a Microsoft. I will tell you a story about the Bill Gates. Actually, Microsoft was not developed by Bill Gates. There was a need, like HP wanted to start their own computer, and for making that computer more popular in the audience, they wanted to have their own operating system. And the thought was, if they started developing their own operating system, it will take a time and the market will be much ahead when they will launch their own operating system. So what they decided, rather than doing our own R&D and developing operating system, let's use the other operating system which is already developed and start using it, so that we will be compatible with the markets and we will not lose our target customers. So then they visited to Bill Gates, and Bill Gates was having programs like he was having like, written some basic programs and all, but he don't have any operating system. So even he was knowing like my work is not if enough to have a complete operating system, and he would also know like even it is not a piece of cake like it's cup of tea to develop a new operating system within a minimum time. So what he did, he suggested the one person who was working on an operating system, and that was a like requirement of a IBM computer. So Bill Gates act as a broker. So he scheduled a meeting with that person, with the IBM persons, and eventually the person who have designed and developed the operating system, he went out and left his wife to attend that meeting. And eventually that meeting did not go well, and there was no discussion from that. So again, IBM reapproached to the Bill Gates and asked him can you do it, this for us? So what Bill Gates did, he make a deal from his own. He purchased that operating system for a $5,000 and then rename it as a MS DOS. And then he sold that operating system to IBM as a $50 per OS. So you can see like how he was lucky, and then the era of Microsoft started. So he was not the original developer, neither the contributor to the open source community, but he used his brain and generated the revenue out of it. And now you know, like Bill Gates is the one of the richest person among the world. So this is how to grab the opportunity. So it's not like you. This the same thing goes with our interview cracking. If you are very talented, if you have very good technical knowledge, you may not have a skills to crack the interviews, because it's all about your power of negotiation. So you should be good in all, like in commercial as well as technical. Then only you will get a good offers and you will grab the opportunities. Okay. These are the basic Linux commands. Before diving into direct Linux commands, let me show you what we are trying to do. So like this is a our Windows operating system, right? Operating system is installed on a C drive. So these are the file structure of a C drive. Oh, sorry, this is a file structure of a operating system. Like these are Windows, these are library files. These are 86, 64. So these are the architecture under which operating system runs. So we don't need to go in detail. It's just like a driving a car. For example, if you are driving a car, you don't need to understand like how engine works, how combustion happens. You just need to understand accelerator, brake, and clutch and steering part. The same way, you don't need to go in depth how operating system works internally. What we need to understand, how we can make use of it operating system, and we can do the our required task. So what we do, like we create a new folder, like whenever we have operating system, right? So what is our this is a GUI, like graphical user interface. That's why we have a mouse enabled. Like we can make a use of a mouse. But when it comes to Linux, uh, we don't work on a Linux client operating systems. We work on a Linux servers. So they are total command based, can command prompt. We have to do everything using a command prompts. So let's start with creating a folder in a Windows, and whatever activities we are doing in a Windows, we will try to replicate it in a Linux. So it will be easy for understanding of you. So let's how we create a new folder. Like we click on new, we create a folder, we give a name to it. Okay. Then we go inside the folder. Then we create a new files. We click on new, we create text document. Then we open the editor, we type in it. Then we save the file, we close. Again, we need to edit that file. So we reopen that file. So here you can see we are using a notepad as an editor. So we are able to change the file, and that is called as a notepad editor. So editor is the word which is used to refer this application. So we just made some changes. Again, we save it. Okay. So here, so far the practicals which I done on my laptop, I think you are good with that, right? There is nothing a new thing like not understandable. You are clear, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Anyone has any doubt or not clear anything at this point? Okay, good. So Like again, there will be a question in your mind. We are driving this session on a Windows operating system, and how we will start Linux, right? So, or do we need to create an account on AWS and all? So now we don't need anything like that to do the practice. It is all about just mastering the commands and understand like how Linux work and what is the difference between Linux way and Windows way. So we will make a use of one website, so that will help us to do the practice. So the name of a website is belar.org JS Linux. So here they have created the Linux instance already. We don't need to do login. We don't need to create account. We don't need a credit card. We can just log into this site and access the Linux machine directly. So here you can see one home page is coming, very simple page. Here we can select any version. So here you can see we have a multiple operating system available here, and you can see this is a CPU. Like this is 32-bit CPU. This is a 64-bit CPU. Here you can see. Then they have given the name of a OS. This is Alpine Linux. Then Windows, FreeDOS, build root. So these are the flavor of Linux. Fedora, Fedora 33. Then user interface. So window, graphical, VGA, text, console. So we are interested in using a console only. So click here. It's loading. You can see the process bar here at the bottom. It will take 5 to 6 seconds. See, here Linux started, and you can see this is a terminal. We call it as a terminal. So it says welcome to JS Linux. Use VF login username to connect to your account. You can create a new account. Like if you want to create a new account, we will do that. We will see it. But here we have got the access to the terminal. The first command which we use a pwd, it's present working directory. So actually when we are in a Windows, like top bar, we can see the path where we are. So I'm in the D. I created a folder, D drive upskill folder, and then I created a one text file. So we are using a GUI way. That's why we know. But in terminal, it is difficult to understand where we are at currently. So we can use the command pwd, like present working directory, and we will come to know where we are or what is our location. Then let's start with creating a new folder. So the command is very simple. Mkdir means make directory, give a name to it. Okay. So now we created a folder, but we want to check if it is created or not. So then we have a command ls. Ls means list. So here you can see the files like bench.py, hello.c, hello.js, readme.txt, and upskill. So you can see the color of upskill is a blue, and the rest other files are in a white color. So all files are having the extension .py, .c, .js. These are the files. Hence it comes with the extension. But we have created directory, or in Windows we call it a folder. So it has a blue color. So we need to go inside the folder. So for that, so currently we are at root. So we need to go inside the upskill folder. So we need to type cd. Cd is again change the directory. So you can type u cd and upskill. So now you are under the upskill folder. So here you can see the path. Earlier we are at localhost and tilt. So it is a root. Whenever it shows a tilt, you are at a root directory. So when we check using a PWD, we come to know we are at a root folder. Then now we created a folder cd upskill and we come under that folder. So here you can see the change in the path, localhost root. So the upskill folder is under the root folder /upskill. So here we can create a files. So how we can create a file? So there is a command called as the touch. We can create a multiple files at the same time here. Okay. So here we see like I typed the command touch and just given a command text1.txt, text2.txt. Let's see does it created the files or not. So again, ls is a list. So here you can see it has created a files text1.txt, text2.txt. Now these are just blank files, right? It don't have any data. So we can use a editor. In Windows, we use the Notepad as an editor. So here is a VI editor. So how we can open the file VI? So now here you can see it has opened one editor and every line start with a tilt. So here we can type. So we cannot type here directly like a notepad. So for that, we need to press the insert key on a keyboard and then we can start typing. Okay. So now for saving this file, you can see like there is no file menu, nothing. But how we can save? So for that, we need to press a shift colon. Before that, we need to press escape. So if you see, if I'm typing colon, it is appearing at the end of the line. But if I press escape, you can see it is appearing at the bottom. So here you can see at the bottom of the screen, there is a green cursor which is blinking and you can see a colon is there. So here I need to save this file. Hence W is used for the writing and Q is used for the quit. So WQ and exclamatory mark is a forcefully write. So here the file has been saved or not. We can see again. We can reopen the file using a cat command. See, you can see the using a cat command, I can read the content of the file. Like welcome to Upskill Institute. This is the demo of Linux commands. If I open text2.txt, which is a blank file, right? You can see nothing is appearing because it is a blank file. Now there is a need. We want to create or we want to update our previous file. So again, we can use a open a VI editor and give the file name. So you can see our original file has opened. And using the arrow keys, here you cannot use a mouse. Again, when we open the VI editor, we need to press the insert key. Then it will allow us to open the or edit the changes. Now you can see the cursor is blinking at the line number 4. If I press a colon, so it will type it. But when I have to save, I have to press escape key. Then you can see the colon appears at the end of the line. Again, I need to type WQ exclamatory mark and hit enter. Let's see our changes has been saved or not. Here you can see the third line appear. We are updating this file. Welcome to Upskill Institute. So likewise, we can create the files in a Linux. So these are the commands, irrespective of which flavor you are using of a Linux, you will able to use it. Okay. Now let's. I'm sharing this with everyone. Try to open it at your end. And confirm me yes if you can open this site. If you have any questions, you can ask. If anything you did not understand, let me know. Is going good? Are you getting whatever we have discussed? Type yes if you are good with the same questions. Please don't hesitate to ask. Okay. So try to open this terminal at your laptop. If you are using a laptop, open the instance. The first one, Alpine Linux. Clicking on a startup link. Okay. Let's see. We have seen the command 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if 5, 6, 7. So fifth command is a move. Like we want to move or rename the files in Linux. CP is a copying the file. So let's come back to the console. Type ls. Some network connection issue. So as the session was got disconnected, so we need to create all the steps again. Let's start from the beginning. We use the command make dir. We created a file folder. Then we use the cd. We folder. Then we use a touch command to create the files. we created two files. We can see those files using ls command. We can edit those files using a vi. Let's save it using wq exclamatory mark. W is for write, q is for quit, and exclamatory marks is forcefully write and quit. Then you can see using a cat command whatever we have made a changes. You can see the changes are reflecting. Using cat command we can just see what are the changes. Now we want to rename the file text1.txt to something. So the command will be mv test.txt to text1.txt. See, here it is showing we can't rename test.no such file or directory because we have used the first we have to use the source and then destination. So if we made a mistake, like we use the first destination, like that's why it is error. So what we need to do, we need to use the first file name and then we can rename it to our desired file name. See, now you can see the changes has been made. So here we need to remember mv command then source and then destination. So like first file which we want to rename, that we need to use at the first time, and then into the which we want to change it, we have to keep that file name. So let's again do the ls. Now you can see there are two files now, test.txt and text2.txt. Let's check our data is there or not. See, hello, welcome to DevOps. This is the beginning of session of Linux. So all our data is present. Hope you understand this rename command. You can unmute and speak if you have anything. The next command is delete. So we will see the remove. RM stands for remove. Then we have not done any work on text2.txt. Let's delete it. Again, use ls. So now you can see there is only one file, that is test.txt. If you want to move the file, so renaming and moving the file has the same command, that is mv.